Minnesota was promised to the Somalis 3,000 years ago.
Well, that's the biggest bunch of crap I ever heard because the Somalian country was established in 1960. You're so full of crap, you spin it out.
There is no way that this guy does not get it. There is no way. Nah, like, seriously. Like, who's gonna tell him? Of course I know that Somalia was founded in 1960. But the one thing you're not getting is, it was founded in 1960 BC. Before Christmas. It's literally 16th of December right now. It's before Christmas. Like, oh my, like, how'd you not know this? Like,
so recently the Somali community has become the new boogeyman that the powers that be are trying to demonize, showing blatant bigotry, constantly repeating this false accusation that Somalis have such a low IQ. So in true poetic fashion, the Somalis responded to all this hate and bigotry with rather high IQ satire that hilariously went over the heads of people who were trying to call them low IQ.
Minnesota was promised to us Somalis 3,000 years ago. And if you disagree, you're an anti-Kushite bigot and you need help immediately. Also, if you read Genesis 12:3, it says that those who bless Somalis will be blessed, and those who try to harm them will bring harm upon themselves. I didn't say that. Genesis 12:3. Just saying.
So as you can see, the Somali community began trolling all of the haters. But what's special about this particular video and this specific post, it got 2.8 million views. And the person who posted it was apparently not high IQ enough to even understand what he was saying. Saying, this has to be one of the most ridiculous takes I've ever heard. This must be one of the 70 IQ people that we've heard about. But the irony here was not lost on much of the internet. The high IQ brigade is in shambles. And the trolling just blasted off from here. In 1776, 56 Somali Americans met in Philadelphia's Independence Hall to make a first-of-its-kind Declaration of Independence. We declared all men equal with life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for all. Somali Americans are the fabric of this nation. And the only thing funnier than the actual satire itself are the bigoted high IQ warriors who are completely missing it, whose high IQ heads the satire is flying right over. This high IQ detective said all made up lies to distract from the Somalians' filth.
The small area in red is what Somalis have. Meanwhile, every other area is what the Americans have. And somehow Somalis are the invaders. Stop anti-Somalism.
Everyone who disagrees with this post should be sent on a free trip to Mogadishu by the American Somali Public Affairs Committee, ASPAC, and kiss the Eastern Wall. You know, the saddest part about this whole situation is that the truly intellectually deficient bigots hurling slander against the Somalis are just not smart enough to appreciate the brilliance and hilarity of their trolling.
A lot of people said I forgot to give native Minnesotans access to Minneapolis, and so I created this corridor called the Tim Walz Highway. This ensures that native Minnesotans can travel to Minneapolis without having to intrude on Somali's land. This highway will likely not be open a lot. It will be quite difficult to pass through. It'll open at weird hours. There might be some blockades here and there, and you might also need a lot of identification to pass. But it's there for all native Minnesotans to use.
No, Minnesota was not promised to you 3,000 years ago. But I appreciate the humor in your gaslighting. Please, create more.
Hello guys, welcome once again to the channel. So the Somalis in Minnesota were receiving a lot of trolls, backlash and hate from some of the Americans. But how the Somalis managed to neutralize these trolls with one satire is still remains a mystery, by the way. And actually, it was so hilarious to an extent, some of the Americans who were trolling these Somalis in Minnesota were literally enjoying this satire. Because Donald Trump and the administration were like, well, we need the Somalis gone. We don't want them in Minnesota. And the Somalis in Minnesota sat down and were like, Donald Trump, where do you want us to go? Don't you know that Minnesota was promised to us 3,000 years ago by our forefathers? And don't you know that the same forefathers wrote in the Bible that God will bless whoever bless Somalis and will curse whoever curse Somalis? And that our forefathers promised this Minnesota land to us 3,000 years ago. And the people are like, wait a minute. You need a high IQ to understand this satire. And the Americans were literally loving this, because if you look deep into the Bible, you will literally understand this satire, but I don't want to spoil it for you. So in this video, apparently, some Americans took this satire very serious. They were like, okay, we know it's a satire, but Minnesota did not exist 3,000 years ago. Others were like, these people are planning to conquer us. Others were like against this satire at all, because they were like, these people might say it as a joke, but apparently they will conquer us. Let's check this video and how the Somalis managed to cool down a whole nation that was trolling them using one satire. Then we shall be commenting about it.
Let me ask you this, Somalians. How in the world could you be promised Minnesota when Minnesota didn't exist 3,000 years ago?
I hear you, but I'm telling you, this is the land of my people. Minnesota was promised to us 3,000 years ago. My ancestors have been here for generations. In fact, hold on, I'll show you a picture. So this right here is a picture of my great-great-great-grandfather, Farah Ismail Abdullahi Jibril Agmadige, having tea with the Native American chief of the Dakota tribe right next to Lake Minnetonka. And this is right here. This is him fighting alongside the natives in 1816. In fact, the name Minnesota is Somali. Minan means home. Soda means there she is. Minnesota. Home, there she is. That's what it means to us. Just look at the state flag of Minnesota, right? And how much it looks like the flag of Somalia. It's there to remind us of the pilgrimage our great-grandparents made to make it to the promised land of Minnesota, from the sea to the lakes.
To all the Somalians who are posting video claiming that Minnesota was promised to you 3,000 years ago, that would put you back 1,000 BC. You guys have an entire synopsis of where the word Minnesota derived from. How about you explain to the American people how you were promised Minnesota that never existed then to your people? Because 3,000 years ago puts you 1,000 before Christ. Given that y'all got free education, free housing, free food, free internet, may you explain to the rest of the world how you were promised Minnesota when there was no Minnesota then. Hell, Christopher Columbus didn't even find America yet. So how are you promised Minnesota 3,000 years ago? It's a legit question. Can you? I'm waiting.
I didn't see this coming. Y'all ready?
Talk. First, they start saying that Minnesota was promised to them 3,000 years ago.
Is that real? Are there really Somali people saying that Minnesota was promised to them over 3,000 years ago? This is new news to me.
All right. They talk, and now, and stupid ass, first of all, even though most of us don't even like Trump, that's for us. You know what I'm saying? This is our country. One jack, these Somalians in Minnesota, yo, they talking that big talk. I'm telling y'all need to go and just search on TikTok. They talking that big talk. First, they start saying that Minnesota was promised to them 3,000 years ago.
Is that real? Are there really Somali people saying that Minnesota was promised to them over 3,000 years ago? This is new news to me.
All right. They talk, and now, and stupid ass, first of all, even though most of us don't even like Trump, that's for us. You know what I'm saying? This is our country. One jackass already threatened.
I can tell you, there's a lot of people who love Trump. People of my color, people who understand what he's doing to the economy, the changes he's making, things he's getting rid of, the waste that he's cutting. So there's a lot of people that don't like him, but there's for sure a heck of a ton of people who love him and enjoy the benefits and the changes that he's making as well.
We keep saying it's a takeover, that people are here to take over our country and infiltrate and all of that. And people keep saying we lying, but they keep saying it themselves. loud as can be, in our faces. They are here to take over the United States. And if that means taking our heads off in the process, that is the goal. You ain't heard it from me, though.
Can somebody please tell me what the hell the Somalians are talking about when they say that Minnesota was promised to them over 3,000 years ago? Because are they trolling, trying to be like in comparison to Israel, or are they being serious? And if they are being serious, may I please see the paperwork that granted you guys the state of Minnesota? Because while I'm not totally opposed to the rightful owner of Minnesota getting Minnesota itself, I definitely don't want you guys to have it, because you sort of robbed the state blind, and I don't think that you deserve it. So if you could just send me the paperwork, the scripture, the documentation that Minnesota belongs to you. Now, I did have somebody leave a picture in my comment section that was a picture of, like, I guess a Bible, I'm not sure, but it said that the verse came from Genesis 12:30. Unfortunately, there's no such thing as Genesis 12:30, so I do think that that document was not correct. So if anybody could just let me know what in the hell they're talking about, that would be great. Otherwise, I'm just going to assume it's the whole 68% IQ level thing and move on with my day.
Hello, beautiful Somalis. I'm beginning to actually notice few of you guys on my comment sections are talking about how this land is yours, especially Minnesota. My major question for you guys, if you say that this land is for you guys 3,000 years ago, you never existed at that very point in time in the United States. Never did. You see, Somalians are beginning to actually exist in the United States in 1920, and they came as sailors. Then in 1960, students are beginning to come into the land for education. And now, I do not understand when you guys are beginning to claim rubbish that 3,000 years, or some are saying 5,000 years ago, this land has been given to us. Somalians, especially Minnesota. Minnesota never existed at that very point in time. So how is it even possible for that to be promised or given to you guys? You lie so much about everything. You're trying to claim a land that was never yours. Instead of you guys to assimilating in the land, you want to force your own beliefs and force it in the people of the United States. And when they say you guys to move out, you guys say, oh no, this is our land, we're gonna say we're not going anywhere. You guys have all it takes in the United States. You have free care, you have free health care, you have free housing, you have free food, you have free internet, free. I'm 100% sure that 90% of you live here freely and still getting health care, taking wealthy money from the country, and see you do not respect the land. That's where I have a problem with you guys. You do not respect the land. And now you're beginning to claim that, oh, America, the Somalians that Minnesota have been given to you guys 3,000 years ago. Are you kidding? Is this a joke? What is it with the bag of lies? You guys should, even Google can't confirm your lies. Because you never existed at that very point in time in the radar of the United States. I just think you guys should grow up and stop fooling yourselves.
And it also turns out that these Americans, some of the Americans were saying like the Somalis have a very low IQ. And they went ahead and proved them wrong, and they came up with a very high IQ satire. Apparently some Americans, majority of the Americans were literally enjoying this satire of Minnesota was promised to us 3,000 years ago. God will bless whoever bless Somali and will curse whoever curse Somalis. They were in love with this satire, and actually some of them were even praising the Somalis on how they are using their excellence in tolerance to counter the trolls they were receiving from the Americans and the hate they were receiving, or rather they are receiving since the beginning of December, of which they are still receiving. But the Somalis, you know, when it comes to matters of intolerance, well, we might give credit on that. And this satire literally went viral, and that is how the Somalis in Minnesota and the Somali community who are living in America managed to counter with a one satire to counter every troll that was coming to them, that they were engaging themselves in fraudulent activities in Minnesota. They just responded to Donald Trump. You know, Donald Trump was telling them that he doesn't need Somalis in Minnesota. He wants them deported. And the Somalis were like, where do you want us to go? We are living in Minnesota because Minnesota is our promised land. You know, Minnesota was promised to us by our forefathers 3,000 years ago. So basically, this is our promised land. We don't have anywhere else to go. We have Minnesota and Minnesota only. And this is a promised land that was promised to us by our forefathers. And it is also in the Bible, by the way. Our forefathers are saying they will bless whoever blesses Somali and will curse whoever curse Somali. So they were even providing some pictures, you'll see them on the thumbnail, some pictures, some videos, but of course AI. But all this and any other satire that the Somalis were providing or creating proves how much IQ they have. Of course, they have high IQ, and apparently they managed to counter the trolls they were receiving from Americans concerning the Minnesota trend. So you do tell me what you thought about the high IQ and the Minnesota was promised to us 3,000 years ago, or rather Minnesota was promised to the Somalis 3,000 years ago. Did you enjoy the satire? Tell me what you think in the comments.